Hello and welcome to my video. As you can see, this is quite a big piece of board that I'm lugging around. In fact, it's plywood and it's 120 centimeters by 95 centimeters. And it's got 3 coats of gesso, as I normally do, and I think most people do, with a light sanding between each coat. The colours I'm going to use are my usual sap green, red ochre, and a blue, maybe a bit of white as well. The blue, by the way, will probably be ultramarine, and I'm using linseed oil as the medium. So let's get on with it and see what we can do. Oh, and before we do that, I'm expecting this to be about 2 hours long, maybe more, we'll see. So get your popcorn, put your feet up, and I hope you enjoy the video. Right then, now down to the actual painting. As you can see, it's big. So there's my arm against it to give you an idea. Now, it's also not really fixed awfully well to the 2 easels that I've got holding it, so it will wobble a little bit. I'll keep my hand on it and try and cut down as much of the wobbling as I can. The other thing is, I haven't really thought about what I'm going to paint. Some people wouldn't dream of starting a painting like this because they'd have to have some idea in their head what they're going to do. So as I usually paint, as some people point out, the same sort of thing time and time again, it's because I like the subject, and that's why. So let's get some shapes on there. It's going to be a monumental sky. Now, by monumental, I don't mean monumentally good. I mean monumentally big. So let's just get a bit of landscape, and I will have to get in the way to begin with. But as I start working into the painting, I'll move the camera closer, and you'll be able to see some of the detaily stuff that I'm going to do. So we're going to have some distant mountain here. I think my focal point will be there in the sky, and keep it simple. So let's keep this quite low down. Not exactly the rule of thirds on this one, it's more like the rule of quarters. So I think we'll start about here. Now, let me just turn quickly just to look at the camera and have a look, see where we are. Okay, so I'm going to stay right over here next to my desk. So over here we're going to have a distant hill, which is sap green, a little bit of red ochre, and a bit of blue actually thrown into it. A little bit of ultramarine. You may not see it to start with, but it'll all become more evident a bit later. So let's just get some nice shapes here, and then we're going to just take that straight across there, I think. Like so. Doesn't matter that it's a feathery sort of line at the moment. It's all everything at this point, at this stage rather, is slightly irrelevant. It's just sort of getting the feeling, really. Okay, I'll try and keep to the left of my arm so you can see something of what's going on over there anyway. That's going to disappear into a mist over there. And then down here, I think a strong shape, a bit more paint, quite a strong shape down there. I'll have something like that. Something dark there. I'm not obsessed by darkness, by the way. I know I say that quite often. I say, oh, a bit of dark here and a bit of dark there. Well, you know, you have to get the dark into a painting so that you can later show the light. And this paint that I'm putting on here now has got a little bit more red in it than the other stuff, and that will all become useful in a while. So let's have a little bit of light on that field just by dragging the brush through. Going to have a quick look in my camera. Yep, good. I'll zoom in a second, so you'll see. Let's have some tone there. In other words, I'm putting the colour on quite lightly, and I'm going to start working into it with some paper. Okay. This is the to some people, this is the most terrifying part of a painting, other than staring at a blank canvas, because well, not you, I mean people sometimes think, oh, I daren't make a mark because I'll ruin it, and that should not enter your mind. Strange how quickly things start to look interesting when you have light and dark working together. A bit more light over there, I think. Just a touch. Okay. I might, in fact I will, I'll insert a picture around about now which will show you why this sort of thing appears in my paintings a lot. These sort of trees on the hill. Maybe it's the same where you live, depending on, of course, where you live. But it does actually happen a lot here in France, or maybe just the area I'm in, I don't know. I just find it interesting. And a shape like that gives you something to put against at the end of the painting, either a light spot in the meaning of light like white, or a reddish glow on the horizon will work quite nicely next to that. I will be adding big dark clouds up here, and I'm going to do rain, distant rain coming down. If it all goes according to plan, of course. If it doesn't go according to plan, whoops, I've just painted the loudspeaker on my desk. Never mind, it'll probably still work. And I'm going to pull in a little bit more red ochre down here. Just to make it interesting. And I'm going to move the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. So down here, as I said, a little bit more of the reddish colour. You can see there's a bit of blue. Well, maybe you can. Let me just check behind me. Yeah, a little bit of blue there. It doesn't matter. It adds to it. And in fact, I'm going to put a lot of red down there. And of course, as you push the paint in, I've got a white spot here. Keep that. Could be useful. So I'm building up textures, and for later. It's one of my favourite sayings now. Something for later. Always prepare. As you paint, I mean, if you're doing this sort of painting, which is totally what I call freestyle, it's a little bit of guesswork, quite a lot of practice, getting a feel for the image that is actually appearing before you. I'm going to have to move that camera again in a minute, I suppose. That makes it sound as though I'm really upset that I've got to move the camera. I don't really care. Okay, so let's do a little something. The horizon will change, as you probably know in my paintings. That it's just something that you have to expect. I might put a line there, but it may not end up as a line. It may end up with a few more bumps in it. In fact, I'm relying on there being a few more bumps in it because I like bumps, I like blobs. I like the blobs that actually do something. Let's just get rid of the white. Except for that bit. Again, that's another thing I might use later. And when I say use later, I'll show you. It means using a piece of paper and doing something like this. Because it's already, you know, not giving total coverage, I can sort of wipe that and go back to a very pale colour, which could look really interesting. Not interesting to everyone. But interesting to me. Okay, so there's a bit of light on the ground. I'm gonna start doing a little bit of work on the sky. So let's just get some paper, not the general sky, just the sky that is close to the horizon, because I want something to work the paint into. And for that, I'm going to use Ultramarine blue, Payne's grey, and a little bit of white. I could use royal blue, which is already pale, but I want a little bit of flexibility on this. Might even put some red in there. Why not? Okay, now I'm not using a lot of paint. This is just enough to break into the horizon. So at the moment I'm slightly shy of the horizon. And I'm now going to put some white that isn't completely mixed with the rest of the paint that's on my brush, because I want the little surprise that's going to give me. I like this sort of streaky, disturbed, it's not disturbed, if anyone's disturbed it's me, this sort of slightly textured patch of colour rather than just having a completely flat colour. I like the sort of gradations. I think we'll have a few shapes like this. This when I teach this method, or the method I'm using, okay, because it changes by the day sometimes. I'm sort of continually changing my mind. As things develop in the painting, I will adjust to allow for it. So I'm just going to go around that little bit of tree there, down the other side. There's maybe the reason you're here is because you're interested in tonalism. I've had some comments lately that says, oh, you paint just like so-and-so, or you paint like this person, or you paint like that person. Well, if you're looking at any tonalisms, whether they're any tonalists, whether they're alive or dead, none of us, well, I'm speaking for myself, I'm not trying to paint like anyone else. What I'm doing is, as far as I know, is painting in the style that I was taught 50 years ago. And I'm not trying to be anyone else. I'm trying to be just me. And some people say, "Oh, you look as though you're copying George Innes or whoever." And frankly, I'm not. I'm not interested in copying anyone else's style. So if anyone else out there is quite famous as a tonalist, and people say, "Oh, you're copying him," I'm not. Because this style has been around, you know, if it's a modern, if the style has been around for a couple of 100 years at least. So anyone alive who says that this is their style, you can forget that for starters, because it isn't. It's an old established type of painting where you have no sharp edges, not to speak of anyway. I mean, nothing that you would say, wow, that's a crisp, hard edge. It tends to be soft edges and tonal changes rather than much in the way of drawing. Let me just think about what I'm going to do here now. I think I'll move the camera again. I'm going to, in fact, start to do what I really like doing. I love doing this. It's quite fun. Painting is fun. It's particularly fun when things start to go well. And just to address some questions that people ask me, they say, how long will it take to paint like you? I have no idea. I don't know how good you are. I don't know how much practice you've done. I don't know how many hours a day you paint, or anything really. So it's down to the individual. I think I got right in the way there. I do apologise. I'm supposed to be working over this side. It's down to the individual. It's what you can achieve in your own time. Really, nobody can answer that sort of question for you. The other, oh yeah, right. Okay, let's get into questions. Another one, great one. This. How long will it take to dry? I have no idea. I don't know about that. That's a mystery. Depends what you put in the paint. This paint doesn't have any drying agent in it. It certainly has no turpentine, and just linseed oil. So it depends a lot on quite a few factors. It's down to the temperature where you keep the painting, the relative humidity, all kinds of factors. So I can't answer that. And I think I said on one of my recent videos, if I can't answer your question, I'll just put a thumbs up or a heart on it to say that I've read it. But if I can't answer it, sometimes I just refer people to Google, because we're all capable of Googling if we don't know something. And there we are. Now, I'm still getting people asking me, and it's probably my fault. They're asking me about when they can come here to learn to paint. Well, at the moment, who knows? If ever, I don't know. And it could be that the reason they're asking that is because they're seeing the notes under some of my older videos that I haven't actually got round to changing to say that that's on hold at the moment. So I'll try and do that. Oh, the other thing is, someone said, could I number my videos? Yep, and same sort of thing there. As soon as I find the time to do it, I'm extremely busy with other work. But I do want to make life easier for you, so I'll try and get my head around that one. I should be able to do it in, I don't know, about half a day, and I will do my best to fix that. And I'm also aware that some of the older videos that I made, and again this is down to me being slightly incompetent on this sort of thing, is I say this is part one and this is part two, and I think in a couple of cases it isn't. I think I made a boo-boo there. Okay, let's have some fun now, I think. I might move the camera again so that you can see the full extent of my fun. I really should get out more, maybe. Okay, let's zoom back a bit here. I think I've got it all in, looks like it. That should be almost all of it. When I've done a bit on the sky, I'll go back to the landscape and start showing you how I, well, terraform, I suppose. This is Payne's grey with ultramarine blue and a bit of white. And this is just, whoops, let's try not to fly across the room. Let's just get something threatening up there, shall we? This is the bit that could loosely be described as abstract. It is a bit like painting, an abstract painting. Okay, let's have some shapes there. Okay, I'll try and stop the banging. I had a comment from someone the other day, which made me laugh actually, because they thought that all these dark paintings showed that I'm possibly slightly disturbed. Well, yeah, I am disturbed, but we all are a little bit at the moment. So that's okay. Well, this is definitely going to be a dark sky, isn't it? But that's good, because it'll bring attention to this part of the painting here, as it's in fact doing now, and I haven't even really done much to it. I want to get a little bit more distance down there. So I'm going to, and it doesn't matter if I use the same brush that I'm using for that dark colour, I can use that down there, just with a little bit more white on the edge of the brush. And what I'm going to do is pull the land and the sky together. And in fact, that's a waste of time showing you like that. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. So there we are. Now I've also got to check, because I know I go on about it, but you don't want me in the way. Even though a lot of you are very kind and say it doesn't matter, I want to give you the best possible quality of video that I can produce. So anyway, what I'm doing here, I'm just going back and forth with the brush, pulling the sky and the land together. And as you know, that's what will give you perspective. There, so they're fading away. They meaning the hills. They're fading away into the distance. I can now, using the original brush that I used to put the colour on, I can now go back over that. In fact, I'm going to here because there's a bit of white there I don't want. Double check you can see what I'm doing now. Yeah, I think so. Can you? Yes, you can. I want to put some variations of the dark in there as well, just the odd touch, just to show you how it's done. I'm not trying to make a masterpiece here. I'm just trying to show you techniques, I suppose. In fact, I'm going to bring a little bit of a hill up there, just a little bit, just enough, just so you can see how it works. So in other words, I'm pushing the land into the sky, and that's where it starts to get interesting and distant. So let's see, what should we do here? Let's just pull that. I don't want to do like in my last video I had a flat landscape with a hill here. I don't want to do that in this one, because they can look a bit samey, and even though my paintings I think are recognizable now, and some of you will laugh and say, yeah, because they're full of doom. That's okay. Somebody's got to do it. I mean, you know. So let me just check. When I say let me just check, I'm looking in the camera. Okay, right. Okay, so I'm going to, while I'm in that area, I'm going to get a little bit more red ochre and sap green to lose the light colour that was on the brush. I haven't wiped these brushes once yet. This is just as it was when I started, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a something. I think we should have a something there. There we are. There's a sort of rouge somethingness about that. I'll be laying into it with paper in a minute just to make everything twinkle a bit more. Okay, so these trees on the horizon, I'm going to make them a little bigger. And again, pulling some of the paint from the sky down into the dark, and you'll see that at the end. I will put up a high-res photograph on my Facebook page, and I'll also photograph it properly. It's all very well seeing video and all that, but a good photograph at the end will show you exactly what it looks like. So now here, and you can't see what I'm doing, turning into a dithering old fool, I tell you. Okay, I'm going to move over that way, and I'm going to zoom in a bit more. Okay, and I'm going to start. I might cut that last bit and add this, go back in other words to show you what I'm doing here. Who knows, we'll see. Okay, so if I push the brush into the sky and then pull it down, I can add a little bit of light in that area there. And I think the same here. This has got a very crisp top to it, and I don't really want that. So I'm going to just feather it slightly. I think you're seeing what I'm doing. I'm going to, as it's you, I'm going to zoom in even further. Right, so what I'm after here, just using the corner of the brush, I'm not using any small brushes on this painting at all. They're all the same size, 7 centimeters or 70 millimeters. I'm just going to push the tree into the sky, feather it slightly, just by touching it with the corner, and then every now and then just put one in that's a little bit bigger than the other, so that it's not all the same. You have to vary your bumps, and I always like to leave a painting with a bit of an uplift. Hope you can see what I want to do here. I've got an accidental light streak across there, which I quite like. That gives us a feeling of a field, and then coming up to a line of trees. On the hill here we've got some light, so I think that should just be exaggerated a little bit, like so. Sometimes it's good to have a line or two going in a different direction. So in other words, instead of back and forth, let's have one that actually comes down from that top there, down that way. It doesn't matter how well you paint or think you paint, unless your composition is right and interesting, people will lose interest. So you've always got to be aware that you want to give the viewer a sort of a feast for their eyeballs. Lots of texture, lots of things going on, or the impression of lots of things going on. Okay, just the odd blob. Okay, so there's an area where there's not much happening, and I need to give it the feeling that something is happening or about to happen. And when I say happening, I mean affecting the viewer. I don't mean it's going to jump up and shout hallelujah. There we go. So there we are. Look, shapes that trick the eye, because that's what painting is. It's all an illusion. It's all, even the realistic stuff. It's how well you can trick the viewer's eye into thinking they see something, when in fact all they're seeing are blobs of paint. Let's bring this light across here a little bit more. So there we are. We're not so dark today. Brought a little bit of light to your life. Okay, let's move that way a bit more as we work across. Okay, so there's a shape here, quite an interesting shape, and you, looking at the camera you can see it. There's like a curl. I always like a curl in a painting. There's something about a good curl. Let's try and make it more visible. That's something like that. You see, the very nature of that line, because it starts out with the tip of the brush, and as you come round you use more of the flat face of the brush. Do it again, and then a nice curl there. It doesn't matter about what I've done here, that's okay. You can give the feeling of a change in the landscape, something for the eye to follow. And of course I don't like that at the moment. I'm going to just do it again, and as I often say, try doing that with watercolour. So I'll do it again. In fact, before I do it again though, I'm going to just increase the top of this light area up a bit. Okay. And then I'll put my curl, or a curl, not my curl, the curl, back into the painting. Oh, I prefer that. That's much more subtle. Yeah, like that. So it's a change in the structure of the landscape. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, the last thing you want to do is a completely hyperbolic curve. And then now you've got your curve, you see, you can tidy it up at the bottom edge so that it looks as though you had immense brush control to actually get it to end like that. Of course you didn't. You overpaint it and then wipe back, and then to cover up the bottom edge here, because I don't know what I would put there, so the simple way around that is to put something even closer, so something that's really in our face down here maybe. So I'll think about that as we go on, but I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll leave it, maybe I won't. So go back to the sky in a minute. I'm going to get a little bit more light over there. Just check you can see where over there is. You won't in a minute, so I'm going to move that. Okay, so I'm going to push this over there, like so. Good. Now, let's see what we can do. Oh, right at the beginning you may remember I mentioned that this would be a long video. So, I mean, I don't know how long it's gone at the moment. My camera doesn't actually tell me. There will be a point when I'll stop, and of course I'll have to let you know that that's it for today. I mean, it may not be 2 hours, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But it may be of interest for some people for me to go on, you know, really long time on this and jabber away. I don't know. I'm going to leave that. Oh no, you can't. God, I keep doing this, don't I? Wow, it's not until you actually start moving the camera, you know, you realise what a big picture it is. I've done bigger, but not quite in this style. So I've got something that looks like a bit of water, you know, a little white patch. So look, we could just break that in a couple of places so that it's just showing through there. Makes it more interesting. Okay, so bear in mind, I'm sure you know, the amount of colours I've used on this up to now is very, very minimal. You don't have to have a lot of colours to start with on a painting. Okay, so we've got some nice accidental things happening down the bottom there in this area, all due to the brush marks. This sort of curved look here, you know, that sort of look you get on grass where you have like track lines. They have a lot of them in the south of England on what's called the Downs, the hills in the south, across the south of England. And some people say it's because of sheep walking back and forth, but they figured that it isn't that. It's a leftover from the last ice age where the sea receded in stages and left lines. So that's what I heard on the internet. So it must be true. Of course, as we all know, everything on the internet is dead accurate. So yeah, I like that accidental sort of look, sort of quite nice effect. So I'll leave that. I'm going to be putting texture into all this soon. At the moment, though, I just want to just sort out my lights and darks. There we go. Let's have another look back. Yeah, that's got a nice sort of scrubby farmland sort of look. Well, maybe not farmland. Maybe it's too far gone for that. Let's zoom back a bit. I want to do something more. I either do something more over here, or I go for the very dark approach, and I'm leaning that way actually, so that I don't fuss too much on the landscape. I think I'll do that. Because it is a demo, it doesn't really matter what I do. If I decide later that I want to change it, of course I can. So I'm going to put a bit more Payne's grey in the paint. And I'm going to simplify that area over there. See what we can do. In fact, I'll tell you what. Sorry about all the camera moving. You may wonder what I'm talking about because I might have edited it out. So what I'm thinking is that I might use what's on the hill here just out of view, the lump of trees on the horizon line, and whatever I do in the sky, and then keep everything down there quite muted, so that the attention goes to the sky and across the other side to the light on the landscape and back to that part of the sky. At the top of the painting, which you can't see yet, there's going to be a very big patch of dark cloud. So I think down here I'm going to start simplifying by doing this. I'm going to have the connection between those trees over there meld a bit with what's going in here. So it's almost like a shadow. So you've got light, which sometimes can cause the ground to go dark because the light is flooding your eyes. And it's like, you know, when you hold a piece of white paper and look at it, it looks white, but you hold it up to a light and it goes dark. So it's a sort of reverse. I really hope my microphone's working. I've had a bit of trouble with it, and I can't tell you how frustrating it is to get to the end of a video and find that there's actually no sound on it. That has happened. So I'm going to mute this. I'll keep the light on the hill in the background, but down here, this is where I'm going to do the very, very simple dark in the shadows sort of effect. I might change my mind, but at the moment that's what we're after. There will be texture in it, but it'll be very subtle texture. Okay, let me see what that looks like in the camera. That's pretty dark, isn't it? Yeah, quite. I don't. Yeah, that's all right. I can actually connect something through here to the distance. I'll show you what I mean. So we've got all this is obviously some kind of forest here, and over there, and then it sort of has the odd bump in it in the distance there. It also has a hair on the painting, which I'm going to have to shift, but maybe I won't worry about it at the moment. Okay. So I want a sort of sweeping around sort of shape. See if we can get that. I can do that by putting some drag marks that go up into what apparently looks like a bit of a forest. Well, a big forest actually. And and then down here, so you can tell, I hope, by listening to what I'm saying, what actually goes through my mind when I'm painting. I come up with some shapes, and then I put myself in the landscape, and I think to myself, what would be there? What would be round that corner? What would be what? And for instance, here, how would the light affect that? It might have the odd little thing like that in there, just a tiny amount. And in fact something in there too. Let's have them. Yeah, every time you touch the paper on the painting like that and you make these shapes, it sends you further away, it gives you more distance. Perspective is not actually that difficult when you in fact, I'd tell you what makes it easy. When you're standing next to someone and they show you how to do it, it does something. It's better than anything you can learn in a book. To actually stand by someone who can paint perspective easily and quickly without any fuss is worth its weight in gold, frankly. So let's put some shapes there. Okay, and then we have the light spot underneath it. Now either I keep it or I lose it. At the moment I quite like it. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, just the bottom edge of it, like so. I mean the edge next to the tree. The bottom edge down here, that'll get fuzzed up in a second, as will what's happening in this area here, because that's just not, to my eye, it's just not quite satisfying. So I think I have to get a little bit of satisfaction from that somehow. Let's just see what happens when we do that. Oh, and that's that. Now that's a bit. That's something that you might find useful. If you're nervous when you're painting, whatever it is that makes you nervous, do it anyway. That way, you will learn. Whatever it is, just do it, and then worry about it later. Because you know what? It's only paint. Have to double check every now and then that you can actually see what I'm doing. Do you know, I'm not the best videographer on the planet. It's I quite admire. I watch a lot of YouTubes, and I really admire the craft of making a good video. I used to direct the odd video. I can do that. I can tell other people what to do. I used to do that for my work from time to time. But doing it for myself is a whole new can of worms. I'll tell you, it's just. I think it's because I get into the painting, and I know that I'm making a video, but the painting part of my brain, I guess, takes over. So I get a little bit lost in what I'm doing. I've seen something there that I really quite like, actually. There's a few bits I like. If I really didn't like it, I would have scrubbed it and you wouldn't be listening to me now. But there's something here, down there, that line there. Now it's just a line. Let me look at it in the camera again. But with all the shapes that are going on around it, that is a path. A distant path. Not the type of path where it comes up to you where it's really wide, as I'm always harping on about with people. You know, make your path nice and wide as it comes to you, but this is a distant path and it's sort of hidden. So I'm going to make that into something more. I'm going to connect it at the top. There's some interesting shapes here, so I'm going to put a bit more light on the top of the path, like so. Back back to my viewfinder. Yuck. Okay, back to the painting. So let's do that again. Let's first of all change the shape of it, and in doing so, because I'm doing it slowly and carefully, I can see that there are some bits to that path that are still okay. What I want to do is connect it to the field above, but one of the worst things you could do would be to do a line that literally curls right in there, a light line like that. That's just not going to work. The thing to do is to do the thing that the brain might expect to see, and that is a line there. So what's happening is this path is this path is disappearing behind some tree there and then reappearing over there. So I'm connecting this dark foreground to that light strip. But I want to do it a little bit more. Now there's a shape there that was too dark, so that's gone. You see, it just takes a touch. I like the break in the path there, but what I want to do is take that path and actually run it right across that field, way over there. Now, it might have disappeared a bit, but it starts to pull you in a bit more. What else can I see that needs looking at? Okay, lots of things. Right, so to give this illusion that the path is going around and is hidden, I'm going to put a shape just covering it there. Now you see what that does? That sort of resolves any problems that your mind's eye might have had with that path disappearing. So it's obvious. You come up here, you turn around in there somewhere, and the path goes off that way. So to enhance that even more, what I'm going to do is put something here. Just poking up. Like that. Okay, now that's working quite well. What else can I do? Right, I'm just looking to the right of that slightly, over here, where this light bit disappears there, and there's something not right about that. This light wants to go in there a bit more. Like so. Whoops, too many regular shapes there. Hope you can see, but I'm sure my hand is in the way at the moment. But okay, so there I've sort of tidied it up a bit. Not brilliantly, I have to say, but better than it was. So to make it slightly towards brilliant, I think it just needs cleaning up, like so. And then, I hope my footsteps across the floor aren't too disturbing. I'm going to put a tree shape there. There we go. Okay. So we've got all this darkness down here, but there are shapes in there. I'm going to get you a bit closer, and then I'm going to introduce a few quite small light areas, but not by wiping, but by dabbing. So the opposite to wiping, okay, so you wipe on a sort of flat bit of paper, like so I don't have to teach you that, I'm sure you know it. For dabbing, what you want to do is sort of screw the ball of paper up, like so. So you get all kinds of nice, interesting bits of texture. And then you do what I suppose it's back in the 80s, I think, in the UK. Everybody was rag rolling their walls, where they would paint the wall and then they'd get a rag with another colour on it and dab it all over the wall. This is basically rag rolling, and it's sort of pretty well the same sort of effect. In other words, if I in that nice dark shadowy area, if I want to bring out a few highlights, I'm just looking at it in the viewfinder again, get an idea of where to go with this. Okay, so I can see down here, if I put a few dabs down there, literally just a few, just enough to catch the light. You don't want to overdo it. It can look a bit, oh, I love this word, naff. It can look naff. Don't know whether you use that in America, but it used to be a very English word. Maybe you do use it. I'm sure someone will let me know. Okay, so just the odd little light touch. So whatever happens here, you see, even though that is very dark, and it does have, you know, a little bit of texture in it that I've just added, I can add more light later when this is dry by putting another colour on a piece of paper and then working that in as well. So this isn't by any means the final. And in fact, talking of finals, I got a message this morning. Someone is waiting for me to finish off a painting that I did almost, how many days ago was it? Let me think. It was probably, well, it's under 2 weeks. Let me just see if I can show you this. Okay, it's this one here. Apparently they're waiting for this painting to be finished off because they've caught up with me and they want to see the second part. So you know who you are, and I won't be long. I did reply to your comment. I just said soon, so you'll know exactly who you are. And as soon as it's dry enough, it's not quite dry yet. It's actually in a rack, drying off. I'll get on with it. But you can't do glazing until this is completely dry. Okay. Otherwise, you'll just make a mess. So a little bit more foliage just around the edge of this, just so that it's not a hard line. You don't want any hard lines anywhere, really. It's all got to be soft and interesting. Now, I'm really liking that little path up the hill there into the field, but I've spotted something that is slightly disturbing to my eye, and that's just in there. Now, it looks as though it wouldn't hurt if you also, with paper like this, you can use these sort of ragged ends like that. Don't sort of screw it up all tight, and just drag and see what happens. And see, I'm barely touching it. I just want to add a little bit more light there. It's hardly anything, but it all sort of adds up. And down there, I think we want a little bit of, just a touch of light there. In fact, across the bottom. Okie dokie. Now, I think it's time I went to the sky, which I'm sure, if you are an ardent follower, you'll know that that's where I really have way more fun than is probably decent. And it's just, I just find it exciting. I'm just going to bring out a little bit of light there. Okay, right. I'm happy with that because that's a little subtle leader into the painting. I really would actually, let me just do this just for my own gratification there. I just want to do something with that path when it gets into the field. And I think I might just put a wiggle there, just a hint of a wiggle. Why not? Wiggles are free. Wiggle away. Now, oh yeah, don't like that. Spotted that. Glad I spotted that. Okay, it's not much, but it's just something in this area here. That shape there's a little bit, I don't know. Just not right. Anyway, so that's gone. So I'm going to zoom back and then get back to the sky. So then, now the sky. I've got a very pale bluey grey colour down the bottom over here, but I'm going to put in a bit more blue, just a touch. And in fact, I'm going to probably add a little bit of royal blue to that, but not yet. First thing I'm going to do is connect to this dark above it. I think it might be slightly better if I just do a little bit of... Now then, royal blue. Going to have to go to the art store soon. I'm getting a bit low on royal blue. Royal blue is absolutely delicious. One of those colours that sticks in your mind. Now, even though I don't use turpentine, I do occasionally wipe brushes, so I haven't wiped them in this painting up to now, but I'm going to just take some of this grey off this brush. And as I said, I'm not using any solvent, it's just I'm just removing the loose paint. So it looks exactly as it looked a minute ago, but it's definitely carrying less paint. And I'm now going to put a tiny bit of oil with this royal blue. I don't know whether you're seeing it on the video awfully clearly, but it's delicious. And it's a very very strong colour too. It's got immense covering capabilities. So let's have that right. Just double check. Yep, you can see. So we'll take that right off there. Okay, so that's pretty blue. I mean, it's pretty blue, and it's a pretty blue. And yeah, good. So I'm going to put some in there as well, because that's a hole in the dark cloud. Or it will be, or it might not be. By the time I finished, it may not look like that. But that's basically it for the blue. Let's break up some of these areas across here. There we go. Now, cut. So let's put the odd mark in there. Nothing much, just a hint. The thing is, if you're going to paint a sky, I can thoroughly recommend this approach. It sort of I don't know how do I explain it. It sort of makes automatic skies. I'll tell you the reason I'm so interested. Well, one of the reasons, there are probably about 50, but something from my childhood. I hadn't actually started college when this happened to me, but I went to an art gallery in Brighton, in England. Brighton is on the south coast, and often called London by the Sea, I think. Anyway, I went to this gallery, and there was an artist's paintings there. He only died a few years ago, funnily enough, and his name was Clay, as in Paul Clay, K-L-E-E. Now there's a different, he's not the ultra famous Clay, but this guy, I think he lived in Brighton, and he painted the most amazing skies. And by looking at, from my memory, looking at his paintings, he probably did exactly what I'm doing, and he just sort of went for it and just put the colour down, and then figured out what to do with it as it progressed. So that I don't think he really had a particular plan. He just sort of, as I do, he made it up as he went along. So what should we do now? Oh yeah, I lost my track there. Let's just have a little bit more blue in the sky just there. Right, I think it's big. No, it's not. It's not big brush time. It's probably all the blue I'm going to put in. So I'm just thinking out loud. I do that sometimes, and believe me, it can get you into trouble. Now, I want some dark at the top. So I'm going to use the same brush I was using for the light down the bottom there, but I'm going to just shove in a load of Payne's grey, and I think a bit of red. And this is my usual red that I use at the moment. It's not a lot in there, just a bit, and it's Japanese red. Just makes an interesting colour. I mean, it's interesting. It's a nice red on its own, but when you add it to Payne's grey and Ultramarine blue, you get another level of interesting. What I'm doing here, by the way, is that there's not a lot of paint going on this. You may think I'm getting through a lot of paint, but it's not thick paint. It's all very thin at the moment. And that's because I don't want any bumps. Just going to get a bit more Payne's grey. I don't want bumps because when I do the glazing, I don't want there to be any peaks and troughs in the paint. I want it to be quite flat so that the glaze that I put on it won't actually settle into any dips, you know, like valleys in the paint surface. I want it to lay flat as possible. Now, oops. Okay, so this has got a lot of Payne's grey in it now. And I'm just going to fill up that bit at the top, which you can't see. Heavens above, Stuart. Up there. Okay, so as I was saying, I just want to fill up the surface so that we've lost most of the white. There we go, that's probably it. A little bit there. Okay, good. Right, so I'll zoom back and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the big brush. Right, the big brush. The big brush technique. I have a brand new big brush here, and it is 12 centimeters wide, which is 120 millimeters, and I'm just going to check it for loose hairs. This is the technique that I use for checking for loose hairs. You can do this till you're blue in the face. Not much will happen. If you've got a cheap brush like this, just do that and they fly out. They shoot out like rockets. And this one I've given a good thorough frisking, actually in the shop when I bought it, so it should be safe. And the technique with this is that you skim the painting. You touch it with the side of the brush, like so, not the tip. And let's see what happens. So I will start up in this corner. Oh, I can see a hair or two, but maybe I'll leave them. No, best not. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm just skimming it to make it flatter. And every now and then, after 4 or 5, you give it a wipe and then back, just in different directions, like so, and then wipe. I won't keep repeating that because that'll drive everybody insane. You get the picture. Make sure I'm right out of the way. If you come across a hair, just touch it with the corner of your brush, and on a good day it'll either fly off the painting or stick to the brush. Okay. Now, I did say early on I wanted to give the feeling of rain, so I'm going to cover the painting like this first before I attempt to do the rain effect, and hopefully this will just flatten it out. I never really realised until I started making videos what a creaky floor I've got here. So let's see, what have I done? I haven't done much over on the right there, so let's sort that out now. Basically what I'm doing is it's like drawing an X and a cross like that. Not always, but that's a sort of that's probably a good habit to get into. Whoops. Well, sometimes it goes wrong, and you may think, well, that's as wrong as it can go on a sky. That's a complete restart of the entire painting. But it isn't. It just means you need a minute or two just to fix it. So fixing it, let's just make sure you can see what I'm going to fix. Yeah, you can see that. There. Great big line right down through here, and also there. Wasn't paying attention. So let's just wipe that off. Okay, a little bit of green in the sky. Looks quite nice actually. The bottom edge of these trees has gone, so I'm going to put that back. Now you may notice that even though that went wrong, I'm not going berserk. I won't need counselling. It's just a painting, and it's easy to fix. The thing is not to try and get it back to exactly as it was, because you won't. Simple as that. Just make something that looks as though it was always there. That's got a nice blurry top to those trees actually. I'm wondering whether to keep that. I wonder. Make it out the way so you can see. Maybe not. Let me just see what happens. I don't think we really want a blurry tree. So first thing I'm gonna do is just fix the sky, and that just takes a touch. That's all. Just a few touches like so. I really needed to watch how far down I was coming with that. And now I've got some green on this, and I'm just going to rebuild my forest, and it may even be more interesting. Oh yeah, that's quite nice. The thing is just to have fun. Oh dear, I've got 3 repetitive humps. Never do that. It looks really rubbish. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about there. So that's got my trees back, but I'm still not totally there, not completely happy with that. because I'm one of those people. Right. There we are. Just making it, or trying to make it, a little bit more interesting. Still not convinced. And I think the answer may be that it's all a little bit flat now, so it needs something darker just there. You have to be very... when you're at this stage and you're sort of finalising the structure of things, you have to be a little bit careful and be just a touch critical of what you're doing, because it's easier to fix at this stage than it will be when this is dry, and we don't want life to be difficult. So a little bit more on the sky in a moment. I'm just going to get some of the green off this brush here, and then I'm going to zoom back and you'll be able to see what I'm... well, in fact I won't zoom back, I'll just move over to the other side of the painting. Okay, now I'm thinking that this might be a little bit... I mean, I know I added the darkness to the bottom, but there is... yeah, I see something I don't want. Okay, I see what it is. I don't want that. Not all of it anyway. It needs a bit of a break in it. And maybe a bit more. But it also needs something to come up higher than the rest of it. Like so. Okay, that's fine for now. Now, back to the sky. So I fixed the other side, that's okay. And now I want to just smooth this little bit here, just a touch. And that's literally just going to be a swipe with the brush. But I'm just making sure that I'm not going to add grey or green to it. So let's get the brush really clean. There we go. Right, so it's just just a sweep across and back. And then I think an upper, a couple of uppers, and then an acrosser. Right, quite smooth. What do we want to do next? Now, what I would normally do at this phase is I would start to put white on with a palette knife, and I'm just wondering whether in fact that is something I will do on this painting at this stage, and I might leave it for part 2. You can see how I do that in other videos, so you're not going to be missing too much just yet. I will think on this. Although, I have to say, I was going to add a bit of rain, wasn't I? I think maybe I should stick to that and try and get some rain in there. Now, this is something you've got to do quite carefully. So, how do we do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's basically a very careful downward motion of the brush, and you've got to know when to stop. You don't want to overdo this. I could wait until it's dry, but you know, sometimes I am Mr. Dangerous, so I might just have a go here at doing this. Now, you may not see that. You'll see it in the final photograph. Let's just pull a bit down here. So I'm going to have to get some more paper. I tore up what I thought would be the right amount, but not quite enough. So can you actually see it? Do I need to zoom in yet again? I do, yes. I suppose I could leave it like that, but it just seems a bit too rough and ready at the moment. So I'm going to just what I'm going to try and do is leave the downward bits below the dark onto the white. I'll leave those. I want to lose the streaks that are actually above it on the grey. So just a very careful couple of sweeps. So if I put more there and there, take off the top like so. Okay, that may make sense, it may not, but we'll see. In fact, I'm not going to push it, I'm going to leave it like that, I think. And I'll come back to it when it's dry, and I can add a few more, but with a bit more pizzazz. Pizzazz is difficult when paint is completely dry. Let's just be a bit brave here a minute. Hang on a second. Why not? If you've taken the trouble to be here, particularly all this time, of course there's always this thought goes through my head, I could be talking to myself here. But anyway. Right. So that's it for the day anyway, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. And if you want to come to one of my Zoom classes, I do 2 a month, you can contact me or just book through my website, and the link will be below. And whoops, I just hit my microphone. And yeah, if you do decide to come, it's quite good fun. Everybody has a laugh. I paint for an hour, answer questions until people are ready to drop. I think the record at the moment is 3 hours, so it isn't sort of, strict 1 hour painting, half hour chatting. Anyway, thanks for being here. Please hit the subscribe button if you liked it, and the more subscriptions the better. It all helps, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. And it'll be part 2 of this one, but give me 3 weeks. Bye.